So the mainstream media is now seemingly on the side of Xbox and Microsoft for this deal going through. We got this article here from Wall Street Journal talking about the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition, and as well as the new Diablo 4, which the beta has been out. A lot of people are loving the beta. I played through it. It is going to be probably one of the most played games this year, I think, and it's going to shape up to be one of the best games of the year. It really is going to be addicting for a lot of people. It's going to be one of those games that I think people spend a lot of their time and hours of gaming this year and going forward playing. It's just a massive, massive game. But this is an article from the Wall Street Journal, and it says Activision deal enters bonus round phase. Microsoft's acquisition looks more likely, while new Diablo game shapes up as a surprise hit. And it says for Activision, good things are apparently worth a long wait. And it's interesting because in the last couple of months, it's completely shifted. The narrative across the media has completely shifted from doom and gloom to this deal was going to be blocked to now there's a high likelihood that the deal is going to be passed. It says the video game publisher has been under a cloud of uncertainty over the past 14 months. Ever since it announced it has been acquired by Microsoft, the deal valued at nearly $69 billion, once adjusted for Activision's net cash, has sparked lengthy regulatory reviews in the US and Europe that are still ongoing. As we know, we have the CMA, we have the EU looking at things. The CMA has seemingly changed their position, specifically on the console market in the substantial lessening of competition, where they have said there will not be any substantial lessening of competition if this deal goes through. And Xbox, Microsoft have no incentive to partially or fully try to foreclose PlayStation. And that's a major, major thing, because the major place that PlayStation is dominant in and that they were trying to protect was the console market. So we'll see how they rule now on the cloud side of things and how they believe the remedies that Microsoft has offered and are going to be able to be enforced. Those are the other two things they need to look at. And then we have the EU now, where a lot of analysts and a lot of articles have been coming out where they are likely to go ahead and approve this deal. And they've pretty much accepted the remedies that Microsoft has offered. Says the deal. Oh, and then also before I continue, we have the FTC. That's going to be the big one next. They're going to probably look at how the CMA and the EU rule, and then whether they choose to go to court on August 2nd, or if they decide to not go to court, they'll try to make a deal before the court date hits. It says here, the deal also came as Activision was reeling both from internal scandals and what looked like a damaged game portfolio following a misfire when its Call of Duty sequel released in late 2021 and the delay of two key games from its Blizzard unit. One of the funny things is it was a misfire. I believe they're talking about Call of Duty Vanguard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the one they're talking about, the 2021 release, which, yeah, it didn't do as well as other Call of Duties, but it was still a top-selling game, and that's just how powerful this IP is. It's not even compared to any other games anymore. It's just compared to how Call of Duty does in the previous year, which, when you look at it as a whole across the entire video game industry, it's still a number one selling game, even when it doesn't do as good as they expect it to do. And then you have the delays of the Blizzard games. One of those delays was Diablo 4, which now we've gotten the beta. Looks incredible. And it says it's now shaping up to be a major hit. A beta test of the game in March gave an early indication. Activision said more than 1 million players reached at least level 20 in the game. This is an impressive number considering it was pre-orders only. It likely took 15 plus hours, and when the game launches, all progress reset. So they're talking about the closed beta, because then there was the open beta, which wasn't pre-orders. Anybody was able to jump in on that. It says he boosted his sales target for Diablo 4 this year by 20% to 18 million units following its planned release in June. Its predecessor sold 12 million units during its release year in 2012. Now, I think Diablo 4 is going to sell more than Diablo 3. I think it's going to be extremely successful. But the biggest question I have is, on top of those 18 million units, is this game going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass? That's the question. I know Rod Ferguson has said it is not, but obviously they can't comment on that yet. But when/if this deal does pass, I feel like this is a game that makes a ton of sense to drop into Xbox Game Pass because of the style game it is, but I feel like it will be making its way over at some point before the end of this year. That's just my prediction. News of the successful beta came just days before the UK's Competition and Markets Authorities narrowed the focus of its probe into the deal. In a March 24th statement, the country's antitrust watchdog said new evidence provisionally alleviates concerns in relation to supply of gaming consoles in the UK, effectively dismissing the worry that Microsoft will withhold the mega popular Call of Duty franchise from Sony's PlayStation platform. 4 days later, the Fair Trade Commission in Japan, Sony's home country, concluded that the deal is unlikely to result in substantially restraining competition. So all of those decisions are helping Microsoft, obviously, and one of the things that you got to keep in mind here is they still haven't signed a deal for Call of Duty on console with PlayStation. Now, they're not going to withhold Call of Duty. They are going to put it on even if there is no deal signed, because they would just be losing way too much money if they didn't. But let's say, hey, they want to be petty. They could do stuff now with the console version of this game because PlayStation has decided not to sign the 10-year deal. They just want to block the merger. It says, while the UK agency is still looking into the question of whether the deal will crimp competition in the nascent cloud gaming market, Wall Street now sees that the merger having a much greater chance of success. Citigroup analyst Jason Bazinet raises his odds of the deal closure from 50 to 70%, so likely to close and be approved. While Doug Kreutz of Cowen, who was at 30% 3 months ago, now gives the deal a 60% chance of success. So everyone has changed their tune. It was below 50%, more likely this deal was going to be blocked a couple months ago. Now everyone is over 50%, meaning that there's more likelihood that it is going to be passed. And they talk about the shares and the CMA announcing that the highest price since the deal was first announced last January. Says that has closed the gap to Microsoft's $95 offer price to just under 10%. That discount was over 20 months ago and has averaged 18.5% since the deal announcement, reflecting the substantial risk tech acquisitions face in the current regulatory environment. And we're seeing the pushback. I mean, this is a $70 billion acquisition, but we know specifically with the FTC and Lena Khan, their goal is to be tough and to challenge every single one of these acquisitions, even if it's on the basis of weak arguments, specifically from, Sony's side of things. The arguments have been extremely weak on their side compared to the reality of the situation that has been presented with the numbers. Microsoft coming back and rebuttaling all the stuff that Sony has said. There were weak arguments for them to try to block this deal right now, but they still went ahead and sued Microsoft and Xbox to block the deal. And we'll see again if this does go to court in August, but all the way to August 2nd, which again, if it does, I wouldn't even be that disappointed. I wouldn't be disappointed at all, honestly, because I don't really care, but I would actually kind of be interested in it going to court because I want to see those documents that Sony has been subpoenaed to show, which is like the third party stuff, and maybe get more insight in their deals, specifically with all the things that we are seeing going on with Square Enix, where another game, Live Alive, got announced, and again, it is skipping Xbox. So I want to see exactly how much PlayStation is paying Square Enix to keep these games off of Xbox, if that's what is occurring, which is what you would assume is occurring with a lot of these games from Square Enix. Now, it goes on here and says investors probably won't have to wait that long. The UK and the EU are both expected to issue final decisions on the deal by April 26, which I don't know if that is true, because I believe the EU specifically got until May 22nd. So this may be an error, but I would have to double check that. But I'm pretty sure the EU has been pushed in terms of making their final decision until May 22nd. So Wall Street Journal, mainstream journalists didn't even look that up. And I just quickly Googled it, which this is why it's hilarious whenever we talk about mainstream media, mainstream gaming journalism. Like, it took 3 seconds for me to figure it out. I'm just a dude with a mic on YouTube right here, because I remember reading all of this through all the documents I've been reading throughout this process. EU pushes back deadline to decide Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard to May 22nd. So that's an error that they didn't even look up. But there it is. This is the article from the Wall Street Journal, a mainstream media outlet, coming out and saying now that there is a more likely chance that this deal is going to go through. All the percentages are all over 50%, and we will see exactly what happens with these, what type of decisions are made with the remedies. But I'm going to leave that here, guys. Let me know what you think about this. What are your thoughts on Diablo 4? What are your thoughts on the overall deal? And what are your expectations going forward as we get closer to the end of the entire Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition saga? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.